Hello and welcome to the LLC Transfer Room live stream. My name is Rigo, and today I'm joined by Charlie, Jay, and Drew. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, good. Can't complain too much. Let's see how this live cast goes anyway.
So, for today, to take you guys through, to my left is today's rundown. We'll start off today with Micky Van de Ben's agent opening up that his client is open to a move away. Wolfsburg are cool with speculation surrounding Micky. However, they have yet to receive any offer, and they won't allow him to be sold for anything less than 30 million euro, which equates to around almost 26 million pounds. I'll go with you, Charlie, first. Do you think Micky is definitely the one we should be targeting as our left center back, or left or Robbo backup, or should we be targeting, for example, Ignacio or any other targets that come to mind to you?
It really just depends on money, doesn't it? Really, I haven't seen too much of Micky. He seems very good, left-footed, very quick. Just like what we do need in terms of backup for Verge, or playing in that converted free when Trent goes in kind of midfield. Whether he's the answer, I don't know. I don't think he is. Ignacio maybe the one player. If we're going to kind of have a little bit more money to spend, the Croat that everyone kind of is going for, Gabriel, he's kind of my preference. But I think this pretty much is agent talk, trying to pick up agent doing agent things, getting his player out there, trying to sell the player, get some interest. That's what I think that report is anyway.
What about you, Jay? What are your thoughts on Micky, and at that price point, do you think that's something we should definitely be jumping on?
Sorry, I was on mute. We definitely need a left-footed centre-back, yeah. He wouldn't be my first choice, not because he's not a good player or isn't a prospect. I don't know if he's ready to be a starter. If Van Dijk was to have a long layoff, I don't know if you could rely on this kid to then step up to the mantle. If it was me, personally, I'd go for Bastoni. Left-footed centre-half. I know a lot of the lads in our chat like him. I think he's only got a year left on his deal, and I know Inter Milan aren't financially the strongest, so I'd test the water with Bastoni. Another shout, Pau Torres as well. He's another left-footed centre-half who's a good player, so my favourite would be Bastoni, if it was my choice, or Vardio, but obviously we know we're not going to pay for him, so Bastoni
heading
would
to
be the
City,
option.
apparently, to our nightmare. Bastoni, terrific shout there. Definitely, I thought he put in a great performance, or pretty good performance in the CL final for Inter. What about you, Drew? Do you think Micky should be targeted, or like you have other preferred targets for us in that role?
I think Jay made a good point about the availability and ready-made to come right into the team. Like, we know we have center backs that tend to get injured. Like, Kanate is not even absent from that, but Gomez and Matip are almost guaranteed injuries every year. So we might be relying on this center back to come in and actually get a string of games. So I trust Klopp in this. I also know that Bayern were reportedly interested in him as well. It seems like Bayern snaps up anyone who does well in the Bundesliga to keep their super team alive. So I'm definitely not put off by him and his transfer fee seems reasonable considering all the deals we're going in for. But the Bastoni shout's also good. I'm sure we'll get on to Barella later, but bringing in two Italians might be the way to combat the Italian curse of coming to the Premier League. So maybe having a friend would help. But it's one of the deals that I'm fine with us being linked to, but I still think we need to sort the midfield out first and foremost.
Definitely. And kind of leading us into our next topic there as far as midfield, Romeo Lavia has Chelsea, Arsenal, as well as Man United looking at him currently. I think the latest rumor is Arsenal are probably deepest into conversations in acquiring his services. I'll go right back up to you, Drew, with that. Do you think we should be pursuing Romeo Lavia? I think with his age being 19, I'm not sure if he has that much experience or that much talent compared to what we currently have with our youngsters. What do you think as far as Romeo?
We were talking about it yesterday on the stream about getting Thuram in, like getting into midfielders who would arguably start in our starting 11, but getting 3 midfielders ready made to go and starting with a completely new midfield might be a little too much for the transition. So somebody like Lavia to come in as the third purchase for center mid might make more sense, where Klopp gets to develop him over time. Seems like a good player, had a good season with Southampton. For me, I'm a little put off by how many other clubs are linked with him, because I would not want to get into a bidding war, and it just kind of seems like something that United would throw a ridiculous amount of money for just to get someone over the line, seeing as they keep getting pipped to other players. But certainly I'd say you need to get someone in before him like Thuram first, and then start talking about the third option being someone who could be built in for longer. But I definitely wouldn't want to get into a bidding war for him.
And I think part of that interest in bidding for him has to be due in part to his homegrown status. Jay, do you think we should be pursuing him at this point, or should we move on to other targets like Thuram and get that one signed, sealed, and delivered first?
Given his price, mate, 50 mil. He's only played 1 year in the Premier League. And is he 50 million better than Bajcetic? We've got a young lad there who we can play ourselves, who's a young lad. So spending 50 million on another prospect, and he is a proper prospect, but only a prospect at this point, it'd be a silly one for me. Thuram has to be the priority. He's the profile of player we need. So no, I go and let Arsenal or Chelsea spend 50 million on a kid if they want. They can afford to throw money away. We can't.
What about you, Charlie? What are your thoughts on Romeo?
Yeah, I think if looking at Paul Lindo's question that you pulled up earlier, it's a good one. Which 2 players would I kind of choose from that list? It's the first 2 names on that. Lavia doesn't really come into my thinking as to what I would want. So I would, yeah. So if we went for Kone, Thuram, and then if you're looking at Veiga or Gravenberch as a nice to have cherry on top of the cake, then yeah, let's look at that. But I'm not really convinced about Lavia. I think for the price as well, why would we look at getting a player like that when it would seem that Kone's £20 million cheaper than what Lavia would come for? So there's that talk. It's just there's a lot of talk, isn't there? I'm not convinced about the player, but Kone's the one if we're going to get an additional 2 Thuram.
Yeah, I began the summer hopeful of along with McAllister, we would be able to get those first 3 names there off that list, with Gabri Veiga possibly being able to play right wing for us. But we'll see how it shakes out. Definitely want Thuram to be the next name through the door. I think he has superstar potential, and we'd be foolish to let him go elsewhere. On to our next topic, and Jay kind of touched on this as well just a little bit earlier. Our 2 golden boys, Harvey Elliott and Stefan Bajcetic, both making the top 100 golden boy list from Tutto Sport, with Harvey placing 14th and Stefan placing 21st. The winner was, not surprisingly, Jamal Musiala for this year, who's obviously incredible. But definitely a good shout for us for Harvey as well as Stefan. I'll open this up to anyone. What are your thoughts on these 2 lads and what role they'll be able to play next season?
It's the only go on to do, lads.
I was just going to piggyback on your comments earlier. I think the Bajcetic shout for, I think somebody in the comments said it too, about Henry said is number 6 a priority signing this summer. I think for me, I would have wanted Caicedo to potentially challenge Fabinho, but I think it depends on Fabinho's if he's able to roll it back. But I also wouldn't want to hinder Bajcetic's development because I think he showed that he can play first team football, and he came in and did a hell of a job in that winter area of the last season. So I think he definitely deserves a look, and I would want to see him getting a lot of game time. I know he'll probably get the chance in Europa League, but he could even push for starting again. And as for Harvey Elliott, I think it's an interesting. He's high up on that list, but it's also, I feel like there's a bit of a frustration around him that he's not doing more. That being said, what is he, 19 years old? I think he kind of reminds me of, in terms of like the expectations of Sterling, when you get into a side so young and you're getting like consistent run of games to just absolutely explode. But the kid's young, so he's got years to develop, and I'm excited to see how he develops. Hopefully we can fit him into the squad and he finds his evolution and can continue to put in good performances and kind of evolve his game. And but two young players deserving to be on that list, and two players I'm excited to see how they develop under Klopp. Sorry, Jay, you can back to you.
No, that's all right, mate. Literally, all I was going to say is if there's one positive about being in the Europa League, it's probably them two boys getting more starts and developing more. So that's it, really. That was all it was going to be. There is no positives of Europa League, but if you're going to take one, it's Bajcetic and Elliott getting game time from the beginning, which is important for them.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. That's a really, really good point. Sorry, Rigo. I think other players, certainly around the kind of the fringes of the squad, can really come into their own. The next kind of generation up, Curtis Jones, that type of player who was really highly thought of just a few years ago. How he can develop over the next year and work with Harvey and Stefan, kind of bringing them in. It's going to be a really, really interesting one. I think it's probably deserved for both. I know with Harvey, there's that kind of insistence that he should be doing a little bit more, but you can't really ask for more of the type of play that he is, and the age and the group of players that he is playing, and the team that he came into at the start of last season. We weren't playing the best football in the world, and it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in come next season. If we do get more players coming in, if we get more midfielders, where does that kind of leave Harvey? I think Stefan's more of a regular starter than Harvey, potentially, just depending on who we get in.
Yeah, I was about to actually make that point. I think going forward, Stefan has more of a defined role than Harvey would, just because of the basic setup. If Harvey's going to come in, it would probably be on that right side in place of Salah, and Salah typically doesn't miss too many matches at all, or even come off the pitch being substituted at all. So it's going to be highly dependent on those outside tournaments that we'll be involved in to kind of get these guys minutes. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. I do feel, as all three of you kind of said, I feel like Elliott, unfortunately, by the situation, got kind of a lot of flack, based on his defensive performance and being kind of unable to kind of hold his own in midfield. But going forward and creatively, his goals and attacking chances created kind of grayed out on a fairly high level compared across Europe. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but kudos to both of them for making that list. And more impressive to me was actually Stefan making that list, considering he didn't have that long of a game, long run of games to actually show out. Harvey started or was involved in pretty much every match up until the last month and a half for Liverpool, but kudos to both of them. And moving on to next potential golden boy, and that's with the rumors of Rafa Benitez taking the helm over at Celta Vigo and possibly greasing the skids for Gabri Veiga to join our team. What are your thoughts on Gabri Veiga? Should we be pursuing him for midfield, or is he more of an attacking option for us? I'll go first to you, Charlie.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about the player before, haven't we? It's an interesting one. He's a good player. has lots of potential. It's really, really high ceiling as to where he could get to. Is he the type of player that we need? I'm more in the sense of we've got lots of attacking threats potential within the team, starting 11. But when it comes to that workhorse midfield that we had before, that we need now, Gabby doesn't really kind of fit into that. So if we were to get him in, and then if you think about where Trent would kind of come in field, again, that similar vibe, similar kind of scenario with Harvey is if Trent's on the right, if Mo's never going to really be injured, touch wood, he never is. Where does that kind of leave a player like Gabby who's going to be coming in and not getting the minutes that he would when compared to staying at Celta Vigo under Rafa? It's going to be an interesting one. It just depends on how he sees his future and what he's told by Klopp if the rumours are true.
What about you, Drew? Where would you envision Gabri playing, and should we be pursuing his services?
Similar to Charlie, I see us like pretty good attacking wise, and it doesn't seem like he'd come in right away. He'd be more the player to build. And I'm kind of wary of that after seeing how Fabio Carvalho turned out for us. It'd be a shame to see. He had a breakout season at Celta Vigo. I think this past season was his first season where he started majority of games and really put in performances on the pitch. And after seeing Fabio Carvalho have similar sort of thing with Fulham, like I'd hate to see a player move to Liverpool and then not get the time that would be beneficial for their development. So I think it's one that, if we would, it would be one for the longer term future. Maybe we'd loan him back, but I don't see that as well. Seeing as our injury crises are known to strike, it might not be something we'd do right away, but I wouldn't want to see him waste on the bench. And there are other more out and out midfielders that we should, we should be looking at for getting those legs back in midfield.
I was just going to say, it's really, really interesting about the Carvalho thing. If you think about Carvalho as a player before he came to Liverpool, he should be on that golden boy list. He should be really, really high up that list itself. And it just shows how detrimental it can be to a player if he's not performing at such a young age. He needs to be playing week in, week out, or getting regular starts and find a formation, find a team that believes in them. That's my worry when it comes to a player like Veiga. If he is coming in, he needs to kind of be that starter show. He can't be wasting his own kind of formative years in the game. So is Liverpool the right fit for him? And that's just me kind of talking from someone that is looking after the player. If I was his agent, that's what I would be saying.
So definitely he should come with kind of a role in mind already and kind of set, instead of we kind of took a chance on Fabio and trying to figure out where he fits. And with how awful we were playing, it's kind of difficult to throw him some minutes. Last comment to you, Jay, on the topic. Should we be pursuing Gabri, or should we definitely move on to more midfielder types instead of more of an attacking midfielder type?
It's a difficult one, mate, because Carvalho's a 10. Gabri isn't. He is a central midfielder. And he can play right wing, which appeals to me because Salah's never, ever got any sort of competition. I don't like Diaz on the right. I don't like Jota on the right. Nunes can't play on the right. And we've got Ben Zoll, but is he really going to get a proper chance this season? The only thing is, I don't think Gabri's the profile of player that we need to prioritise. A Thuram type is and a Kone type is. So if you were to get them two, I'd still like to see Gabri come in, but then where's he get minutes? Because he's a different profile. He is a type of profile. He's very similar to Mason Mount, in truth, the way he plays. He's very, very similar to Mason Mount, which I like Mason Mount as a player. The only problem I ever had was the price. That's the only problem I had with him signing. I actually think he'd fit like a glove under Klopp because he does the press, he can play in the middle, and he's creative. Veiga would give us that from midfield because we don't have creative midfielders other than Thiago. I know people say Elliott, but to me, Elliott isn't a central midfielder, and neither is Carvalho, and that's why it doesn't really work out for them properly. With Gabri, I think it could, but then again, where's he getting minutes when you've got Jones, Elliott? So I'd like him, but I don't know if it'd work if we got another 2 in as well.
Yeah, definitely something to think of. I think what definitely helps out as far as that is just the amount of games that we will be playing in or involved in next season, as well as the 5 substitutions. And if we end up going that full press and going back to, trying to dominate teams and get that ball back as soon as possible, having those 5 subs and those young legs to bring off the bench, I think will allow us to keep that intensity throughout the 90 plus minutes that we have to compete for. Our next topic is Nicolo Barella and his rumored price tag of around 80 million. That's why I pulled up this comment from Paul to kind of toss in Caicedo in as well, or should looking at FSG's history of spending and what we've typically been given as far as a budget, which is not much. Should we be looking at bringing in a star player like a Caicedo, like a Nicolo Barella, to fill in one spot, or should we be looking for a combined deal of Thuram and Kone? I'll go to you, Drew, first. I think we had Jay drop off.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because Jay would probably be most excited to talk about Barella. But I think it'd be interesting.
He's back.
Definitely. Yep, there he is.
What happened there? Sorry.
But he's definitely a player. I'm pretty sure Jay was the first one on for the Liverpool transfer room chat, hyping on him, and I quickly got on that train. So I would definitely be a fan of Barella coming to the club. I'd be really excited. That's, for me, one of those statement signings. 80 mil does seem like it's a bit outside of FSG territory, but and I think it's like he offers a lot of creativity. He's got a lot of energy. He can strike the ball really well. His assists are fantastic. He brings so much, but I'd still want to see Thuram come in first because he's just so powerful in the midfield, has the legs, can do a job on both ends of the pitch that we desperately need. So I wouldn't want to sacrifice the right quantity for quality, but at the same time, if we could get Thuram and Barella, that would be an absolute dream. And I'm wondering if we could throw in like a Carvalho to enter to make weight, to kind of offset that hefty price tag, because we definitely have players who are still trying to get out the door. So I'm wondering if we could possibly tempt Inter with their financial situation and then be like, hey, we can make this a little bit easier on you by giving you one of our players. So I'd be interested in that. And as far as Caicedo, I think he's a fantastic player. I think he would be exactly what we need as the 6. I just doesn't see, like, we still need the legs. Like I said, it goes back to Thuram first. And I'm still hoping that Fabinho, like the last 10 games for me, showed that Fabinho, like, he could get back to where he was. And, I don't like throwing Fabinho under the bus for last season when so many of our players in our system was at fault. So he's still, I hold him in high regards. And then with Bajcetic coming in under him, I think we're okay in that. And that shouldn't be the priority at the moment. Thuram should be first in the door, but I'd love Barella.
All right, Jay, you kind of dropped off when we kind of set it up for you to hit it out of the park there. As Drew said, you've been banging the drum for Nicolo Barella for a couple of years now. If we had the chance to sign Barella or Caicedo, and instead of signing both Kone and Thuram, or a combination of two, which option would you go for?
I'm going to be controversial, lad, because no one probably would expect me to say it, because I have been bagging on about Barella since God knows when. I'd take Kone and Thuram over getting Barella, and it's purely because we need that type of player that's got legs, and both of them have. I think the thing now with Barella is there's 2 things. McAllister's a very similar player to Barella in terms of they're not box-to-box legs, do you know what I mean? They're more technically gifted. They can play 6, 8, 10 if you needed to. So they're very similar players, and then if you sign Barella and you've got McAllister, Fabinho, where's your legs? There's no legs in midfield. If you were to give me an option of midfielders at the beginning of the season, I'd have said Barella. But now we've signed McAllister. I don't think that signing works unless you bring a player in with legs. The other thing is, if the price tag's 80 million, we're not getting him. We're not even negotiating for him, because if we were, we'd have went for Casado. We'd have already went for Casado. We need him more than Barella. So the fact we're not in for Casado almost guarantees to me that we're not in for Barella either. And I love Barella, like Drew just said. I've been banging on about him for years. I'd love him at Liverpool. But we need a different profile of player right now. It's like signing another left winger. We don't need it. We need legs, and Thuram and Kone offer that. So I'd take the two of them over Barella, as much as it pains me to say it. I still love you.
Barella was, at least in my opinion, was very disappointing in that CL final. I felt he wasn't up to it, at least physically. Your thoughts on Barella, Charlie, before we move on?
Yeah, just pretty much the same as what's been already mentioned. Good player, maybe not the right fit, not the right price tag for us. The age, maybe a consideration. I know FSG and FSG talk is around getting value. So if you bring in a player, is there a sell-on, that sell-on tag for that player? Barella wouldn't have it if he's 25, 26 already.
About to be 27, yeah.
Yeah, so if we're spending 80 million, do you think we could sell him in a few years? We wouldn't probably make our money back. So there's that. I know that's money talk, but in terms of the player itself, just like what Jay just said, probably got similar players already who could do the job that we would want Barella to do. But we need other top players. We need to focus on the engine. Because we've got the technicality with McAllister and Thiago. Yeah, Thiago's still around. Let's not forget him. When he's fit and ready, he's a fantastic player, elite level footballer. So let's not forget about what he offers to the club as well.
Can I just say, I feel like I've cheated on my bird by saying we shouldn't sign Barella.
Yeah, I know that must have hurt you there, but you kind of have to balance what the team makeup is looking like, and again, I think we're all in agreement here. We definitely need to get more genie type players who can run those hard yards, be available, and allow those technical and crafty players to kind of do their thing, as opposed to, for example, a Harvey Elliott. We're asking him to make tackles as opposed to just be creative on the ball. So I'm in agreement with the entire group here. I prioritize getting two sturdy, skilled, and hard-nosed players in before concentrating on Nicolo Barella. And yeah, we're not shopping at that store. We're shopping at Walmart. We're not shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue. Here at FSG. So we definitely tend to shop for players who Klopp will build up, as opposed to ready-made superstars, if you want to call Nicolo Barella a superstar. That's the end of our topic list listed here, but on the chat, we've had a couple of comments with regards to, should Klopp switch to a back three, or as a more definite tactic, or I feel with the tactical switch, at least moving forward, we've kind of done that already. But on a more permanent basis, I'll go to Charlie, you first. Should we switch to a back three permanently, just to allow Trent to be in the midfield from the get-go, or are we liking what we saw the last 10 games?
No, so it must remain a back four for me. But that left back option is something that, if we do want to persevere with Trent moving up into that inverted wing back in full back position, that left back needs to be someone who's comfortable playing in kind of the left centre back position, someone who can actually come in. So the place that we've been talking about, Bastoni is an absolute cracking shout. If we were to get someone who could play comfortably as a back three, in inverted commas, or switch to that left back and still support the Luis Diaz, if that's what you want to say, or the midfield, certainly that's the type of play that we should be looking at. But yeah, I would still stick with the back four, but we look at a left back being a centre back kind of combination.
I'll kick it off to you, Drew. Should we continue where we lost this last 10 matches or switch more permanently to back three?
Yeah, I think the last 10 matches show that system works. The inverted right back for Trent, 3 when we have possession of the ball, and then 4 when we don't. I think that's a good system, strong system. I think the midfield will address the goals that we're leaking on the counter. Like that's why we need the guys with legs in the center mid to be able to cover when we turn over the ball and be able to help out on defense. I don't necessarily think that's a formation change. I think if you still have Thiago in midfield with Elliott, you're still struggling, even if you had 3 at the back with Trent and Robertson pushed higher up on transitions. So I think the system has shown that it works. So like it's an interesting shout. I'm sure it's something that Klopp will play with, but I don't think it's something he ever, he's dabbled with maybe a few times, but nothing that's really set. And I don't think he needs to change it further than the tinkering he's done.
What about you, Jay? I'll toss it to you before I share my thoughts.
No, I think it is affect the front three too much. For a start anyway, if you went to a back three. And additionally, I agree with Drew, to be honest. It worked the last 10 games of the season. You've shown the freedom of giving Trent, but when you add a midfielder into that who's actually got legs, that system will be only even better and more operational when you've got a midfielder in there who can do the running for you, which we don't have now. So them defensive frailties, they dying out when you've got midfielders who are suited. So I'd stick to the last 10 games purely on that.
Yeah, I think we're making it 4 for 4 once again with our thoughts here. With the tactical switch and moving Trent to midfield, I think the goals conceded will be addressed by having someone who actually plays defense in that RCM spot. Unfortunately, Henderson, due to age, wear and tear, or desire, it just doesn't have that defensive capabilities anymore. And Elliott, unfortunately, doesn't have that in his bag just yet, or possibly never will have that in his bag as a center mid. So I think bringing in a Thuram, a Kone, who can seamlessly shift between attack and defense will definitely allow Trent more time to recover to enter his right back spot and also cut off a lot of those counterattacks that we conceded, especially in the beginning of the season, where it seemed like if you just strung 1 or 2 passes together, you were already at Alisson's goal. But definitely, I wouldn't switch from a back 4 to a back 3. I definitely keep it as is. I think it's the best of both worlds, in attack as well as defensively.
I was going to mention also, I think one thing that we probably haven't thought about is, or what we need to highlight is Konaté's position is so vital. So yes, we know the power and pace that he's got, but it's his reliability that we need to work on. If we think about having Matip in that position, Gomez would have been brilliant, perfect for that right-sided centre-back position, but because of his inconsistencies, we can't really rely on that. So for it to work, we need a partner for Virgil, but also someone that can actually cover Trent when he moves forward in that transition kind of period. If we do lose the ball, that space that's left behind Trent is massive. So we need someone that actually can support, and so Konaté is absolutely vital for this formation to work. So if we are able to kind of sort out his injury issues, then this formation can only get better with the likes of Thuram and Kone, McAllister, all those top players that can just break up midfield play for us.
Definitely, he should hopefully have less of an area to cover going into the season, just for that simple fact that we should be upgrading that RCM spot to a more athletic player who will provide better coverage to Trent from that midfield spot. That's the end of our topic list for today, and that's coming to the end of our stream as well. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and share with your family and friends, even if they're non-Liverpool fans. We welcome all fans of all teams, just for the engagement alone and the conversation. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Jay. My name is Rigo. Have a great day, and you'll never walk alone.
Thank you. Bye.